G'day guys, I'd just like to do a little video on some epoxy grout. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you, welcome you to South Metro TAFE. And this week in Australia we have NAIDOC week, which is a reconciliation week. And I'd just like to read you something that we are encouraged to, and I would like to encourage people to acknowledge. This is an acknowledgement to country. I would like to acknowledge the Ngala Kala peoples as the traditional custodians of the land which we're meeting on today. It is upon their ancestral lands that South Metro TAFE is situated. I would also like to pay my respects to the Ngala Kala elders of past, present and emerging, and extend this respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders present here today. Thank you. G'day guys, look, a quick video. I had a call yesterday from a chap that was mixing up epoxy, and no names. When I inquired how he was doing it, I'd just like to show you how I would do it. I must say, on the one of our sponsors, which is Mapei, I must say it's not brilliantly clear, the instructions. So I'd really like to show you, you can't do this stuff by hand, mixing it up by hand. It just won't mix enough. You need a drill mixer. I've taken the glue mixing drill and I've put on a paint mixing drill I got from Bunnings. Now, this is great to mix this epoxy. There are a few variations of this. There's painted ones. Now there's a blue one and a red one that you can buy. And what happens with that, the paint doesn't necessarily come off into your epoxy. It comes off from up here. So as you tighten that up, the paint gets dislodged. And when you mix your epoxy, you may find little drops of paint that will drip into your epoxy that comes off the painted mixer. So I've just got myself a non-painted silver mixer, and this was $6 I believe. It will last you a long while if you keep it clean. Okay, so we're going to mix up some epoxy. I've got a commercial pot here and I've got a non-commercial pot. There's a lot of epoxy in a commercial pot. It's actually a 9-to-1 mixture. So there's 9 kilos there of, shall we say, powder, and there's 1 kilo of hardener. Now that gets mixed together, which I'm going to do right now. We'll probably whiz through as I mix, because it will make a noise. I am going to put gloves on. I would recommend everybody wear gloves. I have heard people say, oh, it doesn't affect me, I don't wear gloves. I spent 10 years with that attitude, and I got epoxy sensitization. So if epoxy can build up in your system, so just wear some gloves, wear some glasses, very simple, bang, and then you're protected. So I'm going to mix this up. That's the hardener, it comes in a little bag. Be careful not to drop these bits and pieces all over the floor, as I've just done. Undo your top, and away you go. I'm going to pour that into there. Now I want it all, so I'm going to just hang there for a couple of seconds. I want every last drop in there. It is weighed out. It's done by weight, I believe. And there's 1 kilo of hardener. Now this stuff in the cold weather is a little bit more difficult to mix, and in the hot weather I would never use this over about 34 degrees. If you do, you're likely for it to fail. It tends to, over about 38, 39, 40 degrees, it'll go like Coca-Cola and start foaming, and it won't do you any good. So you want to do it early in the morning, late in the afternoon. Night time's a good time. Now it's going to make a bit of a noise, so I'll probably whiz through this I'm going to give it 2 minutes. I'm going to mix this up for 2 minutes. Here we go. It's probably more like 3 minutes. It's quite cold here today, so that needed a bit of a mix. Now I'm just going to wash this off with just water. As best I can. It is epoxy, so it's going to stay there to a certain extent. Lump of goo. That's now your mixture. You really want to make sure you get right to the corners of the bucket, because this epoxy is a square bucket and the epoxy will stay there. So I'm just going to use a square tool. Now this is another sponsor of ours. We've got the project people across the road, and they supply us with some stuff, and we also get DTA. So if you worry about that we've got Mapei buckets everywhere, you can always sponsor us some buckets. There you go. So what I'm going to do is just get to the bottom. Now that's not quite long enough, so I'm going to use that one to get right to the bottom and just make sure it's out of the corners. And I'm pulling that mixture into itself. I'll wipe that off. And I'm just going to give it 1 more minute of mixing. I'm going to try not to get it everywhere. Okay, now we've got a couple of students with us today. They're not going to go on camera, but I really appreciate them contributing to this. Now what I'm going to do is show you some applicators. Do not, on any circumstance, use something like that to put epoxy on. You'll find out if you use it. It just goes gluggy and it won't work. There's these little squeegee grout applicators that are fantastic. And there's all kinds. I think this one you can take the boot off and renew the boot. There's that one. My favourite one, which is from Bazatza, hint hint, is that one. They are absolutely fantastic. They're weighted, but I'm going to put it on with this one, and we're just going to put a bit on, and I'm going to show you another tool to take it off with. So I'm just going to grab some. It's lovely and creamy, this one, and I'm going to push that into those holes. Now it is a little bit like chewing gum, so it really needs to be pushed in. Now, I'm not going to do this whole wall, just going to show you how to use this stuff in that hole. Once you've put it on, you can scrape what's over the top there a little bit too much. Scrape it off. Simple as that. Now another little tool is this magic sponge or scouring pad. Now this is a absolute must when you're doing this. Could you get me a sponge, Charlie? Thank you. I have got guys that will just use a sponge, and although it somewhat works, if I just wet a sponge and wipe that off, I'm going to have a hard job. So what I'm going to do is emulsify that first of all. So I'm going to put that in the water, and this is just clean water, and I'm just going to spread that over like that, and you'll see that's softened it up, loosened it up, and then with the sponge I can now just wipe that away, and we've got epoxy grout. Simple. Done. No problem. Now the chap that phoned me yesterday, he had an issue where the grout after 2 or 3 days was soft, and I'm suspecting what he's done is tried to cut a packet up, or he's not mixed a whole pot. he's mixed part of a pot. That's my suspicion anyway. And he's just used a sponge. Now, if you just use a sponge, you'll get it claggy all over your sponge, and it won't come off as easily as that. Now I've got 10 kilos of epoxy grout mixed up, but this was to show you how to mix it and how to apply it and how to take it off. And that is finished. You may find that tomorrow morning I could just come in and with a scouring pad and a sponge and just clean it off, but you won't have white remnants of the grout. Okay guys, that's about my lot. Just a quick video, as I said before. Over and out.